If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 54, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 5. Chapter 54, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 5. He. Actually, it could be said that everyone knew about his motives. Wu Yue stroked his white beard before continuing with a smile. Since you soloed a group attack and won the competition, even defeating the 5th stage Mu Ting Er, a lot of elders from the Qing sect want to recruit you as their disciple. Furthermore, you had already reached such a level of cultivation without the assistance of medicine. If you were to enter the Qing sect, your cultivation growth would be drastic. What's more important is that many people are curious about that sword technique you used. Since the Mu family had lost their ability to ally with the Qing sect by marriage, they will definitely use you. Ru Yue smiled. Her exceptional appearance became lively with that smile, but her entire being seemed to emit a dense chill. It made Wu Yue worried. He was curious as to what caused this little girl to be this cold. I'm not a member of the Mu family. They can't control me. The original Ru Yue had died after that head collision after all. The current her was just a soul that unintentionally came to this continent. Relax. With me here, there's no one daring enough to steal my disciple. Wu Yue complacently stroked his snow-white beard, radiating confidence. If anyone knew that Ru Yue was Wu Yue's disciple, they wouldn't dare reveal the slightest inkling of their intent to recruit her, not to even mention snatching her away. Who was Grandmaster Wu Yue? He wasn't a reasonable person. If enraged, not even the head of the Qing sect would be able to obtain his forgiveness. Ru Yue had gained some profit from coming to see Wu Yue today. The 9-leaf snow lotus was a rare treasure. Its effects were a few folds better than the 8-leaf snow lotus, even if it differed by just a petal. After chatting about nothing substantial, Ru Yue bid her farewell. On her way back to her house, she was seen by the Mu family's caretaker, Mu Ren-gue. Mu Ren-gue had gone to Huayuan Street to settle a matter and coincidentally saw Ru Yue enter a house. There were 2 words, Mu Residence, displayed at the front of the house, dazzling with golden rays of light under the sunlight. During this period of time, Mu Qing had dispatched guards to search for the location of Ru Yue, but who would have thought she would be here at the most unimaginable location? What kind of place was Huayuan Street? A house here couldn't be bought by mere wealth. Even the Mu family did not have the means to obtain such a house in such a serene area. When Mu Ren-gue saw the sight, he hastily went back to report to Mu Qing. What did you say? Mu Qing slammed his hand on the table. With an unfathomable glimmer in his eyes, he continued, how can Ru Yue live there? Could it have been bestowed by His Majesty as the prize for being champion? Currently, Mu Qing could only think of that as a possibility. After taking a deep breath, Mu Qing calmly instructed, somebody attend to me. I'm heading over to see Ru Yue. At this moment, Mu Yue came running from the inner court. She clung onto Mu Qing's arms. With an incredibly adorable smile on her charming face, she said, Father, I also want to go. Mu Qing slightly knitted his brows as he looked at his restless daughter. If you go, you mustn't displease your eldest sister. We'll have to drop our status in order to request for her return, but he can only do this in order to ensure the alliance between the Mu family and the Qing sect. Father, don't worry. Shui Er will listen to whatever you say. I promise not to make that slew. Looking at Mu Qing's displeased gaze, Mu Yue hastily changed her words, promise not to let eldest sister be unhappy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 55, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 6. Chapter 55, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 6. Let's go. Mu Qing turned around and headed towards the entrance of the manor. As a result, he hadn't noticed the vicious light that flashed past the young girl's eyes. That slut Ru Yue had made elder sister Ting Er fall into such a terrible state. What right did she have to return to the Mu family? She definitely wouldn't allow that malevolent-hearted slut to re-enter the family. Moreover, Mu Yue just needed to recall that handsome young, innocent man, and the hatred in her heart towards Mu Yue intensified. At the Mu residence, Mu Yue held her head in her hands as she sat lazily in the imperial consort's chair. The sun in the sky made her unable to open her eyes, so she could only squint when she looked at the blue sky. My wife! My wife! Suddenly, an innocent voice was heard at the front of her house. When she shifted her gaze in the direction of the voice, she instantly saw Yi Wuchen elatedly running towards her. His handsome face had a pure and unaffected smile, his clear eyes filled with happiness. My wife, take a look at what I've brought you today. Wu Chen opened his hand, and a necklace made of green jade pearls appeared in his palm. He handed over the necklace to Ru Yue. My wife, I thought these pearls looked really nice, so I strung them up into a necklace to give to you. Do you like it? Ru Yue was touched by Yi Wuchen's thoughts and took the necklace, abruptly shifting her gaze down to look at those jade green pearls. These pearls were different from other pearls. These sparkling and translucent green jade pearls emitted an aura of vitality. Gem tree fruit? Are these gem tree fruits? Their outer appearances were the same as pearls, but they were really fruits from the gem tree. Mu Yue took a gem tree fruit from the necklace before asking excitedly, Wu Chen, where did you find this gem tree fruit? Yi Wuchen blinked his large eyes as he looked curiously at Mu Yue, asking, what's a gem tree fruit? A gem tree fruit is a fruit that contains a lot of energy in it. It's different from medicinal plants. Usually, martial practitioners won't casually consume pills to help them break through, as it will always have slight side effects that could affect their future cultivation. But the gem tree fruit is different. Once you consume it, the martial practitioner can directly break through to the next stage. If this wasn't the case, she wouldn't have been this stirred up. After speaking all that, Mu Yue couldn't help chuckling and shaking her head. No matter how much she explained, Yi Wuchen would probably be unable to understand her. As expected, Yi Wuchen blinked his eyes in confusion after hearing her words before saying, I don't know anything about gem tree fruits. I found these pearls before and plan to give them to my future wife. Since you're my wife, this necklace is yours. In the dark, the black-clothed man following Yi Wuchen nearly fell to the ground after hearing his words. My master, you had bitterly searched for the gem tree fruits to give to your future mistress, but you used such an indirect reasoning. What did you mean it was to give to your future wife? It seems that before knowing the mistress before you, you never had the thought of marriage. Moreover, mistress doesn't seem to accept master. When has it become natural for master to call her his wife? In any case, Ghost King Manor will perhaps be more lively. At this moment, a figure could be seen running in from the entrance of the house. When Li Lu saw Mu Yue, he inwardly heaved a sigh of relief before saying with grief, Mistress, didn't you want me to serve you loyally? You disappeared after the competition and made me search for you for such a long time. If it wasn't for the fact that someone had found your whereabouts, I wouldn't have been able to find you so quickly. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 56, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 7. Chapter 56, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 7. When Li Lu returned home after the end of the competition, his father viciously beat him up. Li Lu, however, persistently said that a man shouldn't go back on his promises, that whatever he had promised, he must be committed to it. It had nearly made his old man use a sword to chop his legs off in fury. In the end, the general's wife held her husband back after learning about this and said that if he wanted to hit her son again, he had to kill her first. How could the henpecked general still have the guts to chop Li Lu's legs off? He could only let him do what he wanted. However, who knew that Mu Yue would go missing after the competition? Li Lu had frequently used his connections to search for her. If it wasn't for Mu Yue going out of her residence, Li Lu's connections wouldn't have been able to find her. I almost forgot about something. Ru Yue stood up from the imperial consort's chair and rolled her shoulders. Li Lu, help me recruit some experts. Oh? Li Lu blinked before asking, what do you want experts for? Ru Yue swept his gaze at him. It's definitely so that I could have my own forces. There's surely a limit to what I can do by myself. If I want to survive, I must have a powerful party on my side. Saying this, Ru Yue patted his shoulder. So, I'll be passing this matter on to you. I trust you can do it well. Hearing Ru Yue say that, Li Lu awkwardly scratched the back of his head. Mistress, since you have such great trust in me, I'll definitely not let you down. Isn't it merely assembling experts? I naturally have my ways to accomplish this. I guarantee that in the next 3 months, I'll be able to help you recruit numerous experts. Of course, he. Mistress, you must have enough financial power to retain those experts and have them continue serving you. You don't have to worry about that, said Ru Yue, smiling. Get the word out that anyone willing to serve me loyally will receive an essence purification pill. This matter must definitely be done in secrecy so that those in the palace won't know. Li Lu's eyes lit up. An essence purification pill was a great item capable of strengthening a person's innate talent. Mistress, what will our forces be called? Ru Yue caressed her lower jaw. After being silent for a moment, she said, it shall be known as Massacre the Heavens Sect. Massacre the Heavens Sect means that even if the heavens were to go against them, they would massacre it with no regrets. Massacre the Heavens Sect is a great name. Ha ha. Mistress, in the future after following you, we'll be going against the heavens. If we were to go against the land, wouldn't the heavens be left? If the heavens are unfair, then what is wrong with massacring it? Li Lu laughed. He didn't know that today he had made the best decision of his life. It wasn't until several years later that he rejoiced about his decision. Massacre the Heavens Sect? When no one noticed, Yi Wu-chun chuckled softly. Such a domineering name really suited her. Ru Yue didn't think much about the name, but it reflected her heartfelt longing. In her previous life, her grandfather had went against the heavens to save her father's life. This resulted in him dying after being struck and annihilated by celestial lightning. Since the heavens were so heartless, why would it be wrong to eliminate it? Li Lu, since you're currently my subordinate, I'll introduce you to someone. Ru Yue turned her head to look at the handsome young man at her side before introducing him with a smile. This is the Ghost King, Yi Wu-chen. Li Lu almost leapt up in shock, his eyes widening in disbelief. After he examined Yi Wu-chen's unparalleled, handsome appearance, he looked back at Ru Yue and swallowed spittle hard. Mistress, are you mistaken? Isn't the Ghost King as ugly as a ghost? How can he be so handsome that even Prince Hua can't compare to a single % of his beauty? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 57, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 8. Chapter 57, Hidden Growth in Feelings Part 8. It was hard for him to believe that such a handsome, submissive-looking man could be the rumored Ghost King whose appearance was rumored to be like that of a ghost's. This was basically two different people. Is there a need for me to lie to you? Ru Yue asked, shrugging her shoulders. But Li Lu was at a loss for words for a moment before he muttered, those rumors originated from the palace, so I thought they were genuine. Palace? Ru Yue narrowed her eyes. It seemed it was time to investigate the source of those rumors. Let's not care about that for now. Li Lu, how many experts can you gather for me in 3 months' time? If it is with essence purification pills as a condition, I can assist you in assembling 100 experts between the 5th to 8th stage. The essence purification pill doesn't have much attraction for experts above the 8th stage. Alright, I'll give you 3 months. She would try her best to increase her strength in 3 months' time. Son. Just as Li Lu turned to leave, the Mu family arrived. When Mu Yue looked at Yi Wuchen, who was beside Ru Yue, she seemed to have become infatuated by his handsome appearance. She was unable to shift her gaze away from him. The young man had hair like flowing ink, and his skin was so white it seemed almost translucent. He had pure eyes that carried a slight ignorance to the current ongoings. His lips were elegant and had a slight Cupid's bow. The young man's gaze continually rested on Ru Yue, filled with a sense of reliance. It was as though his eyes could hold only that person in its gaze. Mu Yue tightly clenched her fists in jealousy. Her long fingernails lost their color as the harmonious sight before her looked incredibly eye-piercing. She wanted to kill Ru Yue and take her place. Mister, who are you? Why are you with my eldest sister? Mu Yue gritted her teeth, asking furiously. She glared at Ru Yue before shifting her gaze to Yi Wuchen. Yi Wuchen looked slightly apprehensive at her before saying, "My wife, that mad woman is too terrifying. Can you chase her away?" Mad woman? Mu Yue's charming face changed slightly. If it wasn't for Mu Qing who signaled with his eyes for her to stop her impulsive actions, she would have stepped forward and snatched that young man to her side. Mister, I'm not a mad woman, but the woman beside you is. Shui Er. Mu Qing glared at her. If he knew she would be so impetuous, then he definitely wouldn't have let her accompany him. After all, the purpose of his arrival today was to convince Ru Yue to return to the family. Mu Yue's eyes burned with fury, but she didn't say anything further and just looked at Ru Yue with jealousy. My wife is a good person and isn't a mad woman. Yi Wuchen's face turned blood red from anger. Rage filled his pure eyes. If you continue bullying my wife, I'll kill you. Ru Yue was stunned as she looked at Yi Wuchen. He had killing intent in his eyes. She asked in astonishment, Wuchen. In her heart, Yi Wuchen was clean and beautiful, like an innocent child. Who knew that he could harbor killing intents? Father once told me that a man must protect his wife. I'm a man, so if anyone bullies my wife, I'll kill her. I will definitely kill her. Yi Wuchen looked at Mu Yue as he shouted in rage. If someone else said that, perhaps Ru Yue wouldn't believe it. But since it was Yi Wuchen, she couldn't help but believe he would do it even if he couldn't accomplish it. Her heart suddenly bloomed with an indescribable feeling. Wuchen, don't let blood soil your hands. Ru Yue gently held his hand and said, smiling, I can manage the killings. You're the sole pure person in this world. I won't let blood dirty your hands. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 58, Where did this beggar come from? Chapter 58, Where did this beggar come from? Mu Yue's complexion flushed bright red. Just when she was about to argue, she was yelled at by Mu Qing, Shui Er. Shui Er was too insensible and had forgotten their purpose in coming here. Even though she was angry, Mu Yue could only forcefully suppress her anger. She glared viciously at Ru Yue, who sat quietly at the side, but didn't say anything further. Shui Er is insensible. As her elder sister, you shouldn't mind her actions. Mu Qing turned his head towards Ru Yue before saying remorsefully, Father has let you down, so I'm here to fetch you home. Don't worry, I'll repay my misgivings to you from now on. Can we head home together? Mu Qing looked sincerely at Ru Yue. Those who didn't know him would think he was a good father that laid down his status to bring his daughter home. But how could Ru Yue believe him so easily? Ru Yue chuckled lightly, a chilling intent surfaced in her eyes. Li Lu, send the guests off. I don't welcome Mu family members here. Yes, mistress. Li Lu was already displeased by these people. If it wasn't for Ru Yue's order, he would have already tossed them out of the house. Mu Qing's expression changed. He hadn't expected that even after he dropped his status to invite her back, this girl didn't agree. Mu family's head and third young mistress, why are you still standing there? Didn't you hear the mistress's words? Could it be that you're insisting my mistress to stain the place with blood before you're willing to leave? Li Lu frowned as he spoke unceremoniously. Mu Qing's expression darkened. Mr. Li, even if you are the son of a general, it's still not a right of yours to care about my Mu family's business. That's interesting, when did I care about your family matters? Li Lu feigned confusion, as though he really didn't know anything. I was clearly just helping my mistress chase away some shameless creatures. What does it have to do with your Mu family? My mistress isn't a member of the Mu family. Mu Qing's complexion turned ashen as killing intent burst from his entire body. Ru Yue, do you really insist on not returning to the Mu family? Ru Yue yawned as she glanced indifferently at Mu Qing's ashen face. She stayed silent. Mu Qing, however, could read her decision from her expression. Since she wasn't willing, he could only make his move. A ray of light flashed in Mu Qing's eyes. Just as he wanted to forcefully bring Ru Yue home, a hurried voice was heard. My disciple, my good disciple. Can you lend me your furnace for a while? An elder rapidly moved forward and quickly appeared before Ru Yue. This elder was wearing fancy clothing, yet he had unkempt white hair and looked as though he just came out of a trash bin. His body was also covered with dust, and carried a pungent odor about him. Mu Yue disgustedly knitted her elegant eyebrows as she unbearably waved her hand, saying, Where did this beggar come from? He's so dirty. He's disgusting me to death and even dares act so flippantly in front of me. Beggar? Hearing that, the old man stopped moving before turning his head to look at the adorably charming Mu Yue. He blinked his eyes before pointing to himself and asked, Are you referring to me? Mu Yue coldly sniggered, disgust expressed on her face. Who could it be except for you? Could it be you don't even know your status? It's blasphemy for me to even say a word towards a beggar like you. Cough. Cough. Ru Yue couldn't help but cough drily as she found the current scene displayed before her hilarious. She looked on with elated eyes. The great chief alchemist of the Qingyun sect, Grandmaster Ru Yue, was thought to be a beggar? This should be the first time that old man has been treated with such disdain. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 59, Mu Yue gets beaten. Chapter 59, Mu Yue gets beaten. Are you certain I'm a beggar? Wu Yu asked again, pointing at his nose. He had just made his furnace explode accidentally, which left him in a sorry state. It was the first time in his life he was called a beggar. Was there a beggar as handsome, elegant, and dashing as him? Not only are you a beggar, you're also an idiot. Mu Yue disdainfully sneered. In her life, what she loathed the most were those dirty beggars. Those kind of people were just dirt to the world. They shouldn't have the right to continue living in this world. Mu Qing frowned as he shifted his gaze towards Wu Yu. Even though the old man looked tattered, he felt that the old man wasn't simple for some unknown reason. He shouldn't lightly offend the person before him unless he knew about his abilities. This was because some strong experts on this continent loved to pretend to be beggars. This elder, my daughter isn't sensible, so I wish that elder will look at her young age and forgive her actions. Normally, experts wouldn't bother being calculative towards the weak, especially if it were a 13-year-old young girl. But Wu Yu was an oddball. He didn't care if the person was strong or weak. Bullying his disciple was not a good thing. What have you come here for? Wu Yu looked at them as though they were wolves. He didn't forget that the Mu family were shameless to a whole new level. What if his precious disciple was being bullied by them? This elder. Li Lu glanced at the silent Mu Qing before walking to Wu Yu's side. He lifted his chin, saying, Previously, the Mu family had wanted to force mistress to return to the Mu family, but mistress didn't agree. If elder didn't come in time, that Mu family head would have used force. Mu Qing's actions were clearly seen by him, so he didn't forget to report it at this time. Oh? Wu Yu raised his eyebrows. It seemed that he'd underestimated the shamelessness of the Mu family. Little Yu girl had been expelled by him, and now that person wanted to catch her and take her back with him. Was there still such a shameless person like him in this world? So what? Father kindly invited her back. Not only did she not feel gratitude, she also spoke such conceited nonsense. Mu Yue had been pampered since young, so she naturally treated Wu Yu as an ordinary beggar. She also didn't understand why her father was being so polite to a beggar, degrading their status. Wu Yu's expression sank as he slapped one Mu Yue's face, instantly creating a 5-fingered, distinct red imprint on her face. Before she could react, pang! Her body soared through the air with a kick. Shui air! Mu Qing turned pale with fear and cried out anxiously. Mu Yue landed heavily on the ground, tears instantly flowing due to the pain. Pampered throughout her childhood, when could she have been beaten in such a fashion? Furthermore, it was a beggar that beat her. You beat me? You, a stinky beggar, actually dared to beat me? I'll tell my daddy to kill you. Mu Yue's hair was loose as she stood. Her gaze was filled with vengeful rays of light, and the pain from her entire body made her tears flow uncontrollably. It made her charming appearance seem sinister. Shui air! Mu Qing yelled out. He looked at Wu Yu with a dark expression as he said, Elder, no matter how terrible my young girl is, she shouldn't be disciplined by an outsider. Moreover, don't you feel you're going overboard in bullying a young girl as an elder? Ha ha! Wu Yu laughed loudly. With his white hair flowing in the wind, he shifted his gaze to Mu Qing. Overboard? Who is more overboard if compared to a bastard like you that abandons his biological daughter? If I want to beat somebody, I will do just that. Who dares disagree with me? I will hit without hesitation, even if it is you. 1. Mickey, well done, thumbs up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 60, Miserable Mu Yue. Chapter 60, Miserable Mu Yue. There was no one in the Qingyan sect that didn't know of the old man's temper. He wasn't someone you could reason with. If you didn't provoke him, you would be fine. If you provoked him, then regardless of your identity, he wouldn't reason with you. He was also excessively protective of those he liked. There was one time when his Yaotong was kidnapped by someone when he went out to collect some medicinal plants. That old man immediately rushed to their house. Before allowing that person to apologize, he viciously beat the person, nearly causing them to lose their life. From then on, even if it were a Yaotong, if the person had the Qingyan sect's logo, then nobody would mess with them. Don't go too far. Mu Qing gritted his teeth as he viciously continued, the Phoenix City isn't yours. Don't forget that recently, there are also people from the Qingyan sect still in the city. I have a good relationship with the Qingyun sect. If you don't apologize to my daughter, I'll ask a member of the Qingyun sect to seek justice for me. Qingyun sect? Ru Yue couldn't help but smile. Didn't this count as lifting a rock to smash one's own foot? In the Qingyun sect, there didn't seem to be anyone that would dare find trouble with Wu Yu for Mu Qing. Ha ha ha. Wu Yu laughed. Good, very good. I'll wait for those people to act on your behalf. How can I, Wu Yu, fear those trashes from the Qingyan sect? In comparison to Wu Yu, people like Tian Yuan were indeed trashes, so he didn't bother attaching importance to them. Given Tian Yuan's guts, even if there were 10 of him, he wouldn't dare seek trouble with him. After all, Tian Yuan's strength wasn't the strongest in the Qingyan sect. Just you wait. Mu Qing coldly snorted before shifting his gaze to Mu Yue. Shui Er, let's go. He had treated the old man politely, yet the old man dared to beat his daughter in front of him? Wasn't this a direct insult to him? Perhaps his power was indeed strong, but how could it be beyond the strength of the Qing sect? If he could successfully gain the assistance of Grandmaster Tian Yuan, wouldn't he be able to viciously teach him a lesson? Currently, Mu Qing didn't know that the person he just offended was someone Tian Yuan couldn't offend. Otherwise, even if he was given 100 guts, he wouldn't dare act so arrogantly before him. Father, are we letting it go just like this? Mu Shui angrily asked. Let it go? How can we? I could feel energy undulations from that old man's body, yet I couldn't see his cultivation level. The only reason that would happen is if his strength is significantly greater than mine. I can't afford to offend that kind of expert, but there definitely will be someone that could. Relax. Alright, I swear that I will definitely seek revenge for the two of us. But Mu Qing really did regret bringing Mu Shui along. If not, he wouldn't have thoroughly offended Ru Yue. Sun. Night. Moonlight shone through the tree leaves and faintly entered a room. A silver figure flashed into the room through the window and looked sinisterly at the young girl sleeping peacefully. Suddenly, the young girl seemed to feel something and abruptly opened her eyes. At this instant, a stinky cloth too was stuck into her mouth before a storm of fists landed. Sun. All of the streets and alleyways spread this incident the next day. Hey, have you guys heard? Last night, the third young mistress of the Mu family, Mu Shui, was violently bashed by someone. TSK. 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 Who knows who she offended that would actually result in someone beating her up so viciously, to the point where her face resembled a pig. The third young mistress of the Mu family has always been arrogant, despotic, and equipped with matchless willfulness. She usually offends a lot of people. Perhaps she'd offended someone she couldn't offend, leading to such an outcome. Ha ha ha. It seems that as a person, you must keep a low profile. If not, you would end up like the third young mistress of the Mu family and offend someone you shouldn't offend. 1 means a child that helps the master to take care of his medicines. 2. Mickey, I imagine it being dunked in piss or dirty mob water. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 61, A Lifetime's Promise. Chapter 61, A Lifetime's Promise. Clang. In a room, Mu Shui swept off all of the ceramic tea sets on the table onto the ground before lying on the table, wailing. Her initially tearful look should have been touching to people, but now that she had a pig's appearance, it would instead make people shiver violently in disgust. Ru Yue. It must be that slut's doing. Who else would do such a thing to her, excluding that slut? She must definitely return this act back to her. The Mu residence was different from the noisy Mu family as it was quiet and serene. Ru Yue turned in bed and accidentally touched a peculiar object. She gradually opened her eyes. A handsome face, one that could sweep anyone off their feet, was before her. His pure eyes didn't have any impurities as he smiled at her. They were so close together that Ru Yue could even feel Yi Wuchen's breath. Yi Wuchen, why are you in my bed? Ru Yue hastily got up, a suspicious blush appearing on her face. She repeatedly told herself that the person before her was just an immature kid, forcing her rapidly beating heart to slowly regain its former tranquility. I just wanted to sleep with my wife, so I came. Yi Wuchen looked as though he was a chastised kid. He lowered his head, saying, My wife, please stop being mad at me, alright? 1. It unknowingly softened Ru Yue's heart. 2. Wuchen, we haven't married yet, so we shouldn't sleep on the same bed. In that case, can't you quickly marry me? Yi Wuchen raised his glittery gaze as he looked expectantly at Ru Yue. My wife, marry me. Then we can sleep together. Although it was very easy to give people the wrong thought when one spoke about sleeping together, Ru Yue clearly knew he meant it in the most ordinary way possible. Do you really insist on sleeping together? Ru Yue's brows raised as she thought Yi Wuchen was too innocent and pure. He was an immature young man while her hands had been stained with blood in her previous life. This occurrence would definitely be repeated in this life. Such a perfect man made her unwilling to corrupt him. It's because I wanted to protect my wife. Yi Wuchen lowered his head and pursed his elegant lips. Royal father and mother had died that night, leaving me alone forever. I don't want my wife to leave me behind like they did. I don't want to be alone again. Wu Chen. Ru Yue's gaze gentled as she extended her hand to caress Yi Wuchen's hair before tenderly saying, "Don't worry, I won't leave you." Yi Wuchen blinked before he raised his head to look at Ru Yue. His exceptional appearance emitted dazzling rays of light, just like his resplendent eyes. "My wife, I'm not sad. My wet nurse said that royal father and mother were taken by the gods. Why did they snatch my royal parents away? Will they snatch away my wife next? But even if the bad gods come, I won't let them take my wife away. As my wife, you're mine." 3. His voice still sounded innocent, but those words contained a domineering feeling. Ru Yue sighed. She didn't know how to reply to him. If it wasn't for that sudden and unforeseen incident, then according to Yi Wuchen's mental age as a child and his great innate talent, he would probably have grown up to be quite the arrogant person. Wu Chen. Ru Yue's eyes drooped slightly. Even if the bad gods come, I won't go with them. It's my promise to you, a promise of a lifetime. Ru Yue never casually made promises, and if she did make a promise, she would definitely spend the rest of her life protecting it. 1. Mickey, cuteness attack. Take that MRY. 2. Mickey, you're too weak MRY. Not that I blame you, I'm weak to cute stuff too. 3. Mickey, cool gigolo in the making? Giving the final blow of possessiveness? Most kinds of girl will love you YWC. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 62, Did we know each other from our previous lives? Chapter 62, Did we know each other from our previous lives? My wife, when do you think we can officially be husband and wife? Yi Wuchen smiled at Ru Yue. It was undeniable that his looks were exceptional. His looks were like the bright moon in the night sky, but he also resembled a clear earth in spring. This was especially so when he smiled, as he seemed to light up the world. Such a handsome man would be thrown handkerchiefs by several unwed girls whenever he went out, or they would look at him with infatuation. But there were only a few that knew he was the infamous Ghost King. When Ru Yue leaned close to examine his face, she could feel the hot breath coming from Yi Wuchen. Feeling slightly uncomfortable, she then turned her head away. Following that, she asked, "Wuchen, do you know the meaning of being husband and wife?" "I know. My royal father taught me about it before." Yi Wuchen didn't seem to notice Ru Yue's discomfort as he continued to get closer to her. Royal father said that as a husband, one must dote on his wife and treat her well in his life. He can only marry her in that life, and no matter what his wife says, it's always right. Even if it's wrong, it's still right. He must also follow all of his wife's instructions to the exact detail. If someone bullies his wife, he must step up for her and not allow anyone to say anything bad about her. Not a single tear of my wife must drop from her eyes and she will always be blissful. 1. Yi Wuchen's eyes shone brightly as he looked unblinkingly at Ru Yue. "My wife, I can wash clothes and cook. 2. Will you come with me to the king's manor?" "Wuchen, I must tell you something." Ru Yue pressed her hands on Yi Wuchen's shoulders as she said seriously, "I'm not a good person. My hands had been stained with blood. It will not change in the future. You, on the other hand, are as clean as a white sheet of paper, so I don't want to soil your innocence." Do you understand? Clean? Yi Wuchen laughed with mockery in his heart. Since that night when his royal parents died, it was predetermined that he wouldn't be clean. If it wasn't for his opposing forces being so powerful, he wouldn't have needed to act like a fool for so many years. He raised his gaze to look at Ru Yue's exceptional face with unprecedented resolution in his eyes. My wife, I'll accompany you to kill whomever you want to kill. If you want to trek on a bloody path, I'll also accompany you. I won't let anyone hurt my wife. In this case, what is wrong with annihilating the heavens and earth? Ru Yue was also a woman, and was thus moved. Even though she hadn't known Yi Wuchen for a long time, she still acknowledged that he treated her well. Perhaps he wasn't as strong as the rest, but his intentions were genuine. Wuchen, give me some time to think this through. Alright, I'll listen to whatever my wife says. Yi Wuchen curled his lips into a smile. At this moment, Ru Yue was suddenly pushed down onto the bed by Yi Wuchen. It was so sudden that it gave her a fright. Yet, when she slightly raised her gaze, an extremely close-up and handsome appearance entered her sight. When she saw that young man's eyes were extremely innocent without a single trace of impurity, Ru Yue calmed down. My wife, could it be that we knew each other in our previous lives? Ru Yue was stunned. Before she could react, Yi Wuchen left a fleeting kiss on her lips before saying in satisfaction, My wife, you smell so nice. Ru Yue momentarily felt as though she had been struck by lightning, left in a daze because of her current position. The fortunate thing was that Yi Wuchen didn't attempt further intimate actions and just slept as he lay atop her body. 3. Seeing the young man's sleeping appearance, Ru Yue couldn't help but smile. Such days were pretty good. She always felt extremely relaxed and secured by his side. 1. Mickey, good job. YWC's Papa XD. 2. Mickey, YWC. You're so cute. Are you signing up to be a male housewife? Help me with mine? 3. Mickey, skinship time, YWC. XD. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 63, Tian Yuan's Arrival. Chapter 63, Tian Yuan's Arrival. In the Mu family lounge, Tian Yuan could hear crisp clanging sounds coming from afar and subconsciously frowned, before saying sarcastically, Your daughter is quite amazing to be able to make the sound of destroyed ceramic tea sets travel so far. Mu Qing's face reddened, but he didn't know how to respond to that comment. He just apologetically smiled and asked, Grandmaster Tian Yuan, what brings you here today? Placing his teacup down, Tian Yuan calmly looked at him. I've come to look for Ru Yue. Didn't you go to invite her back? About this, Mu Qing wiped away his cold sweat before replying respectfully, I've located her, but she wasn't willing to return and seemed to be under a master that was sloven in both dressing and manner. It was that old man who forbid her from interacting with my Mu family. Moreover, he didn't place any importance to the Qingyan sect as he said that if the Qingyan sect came knocking, he will make them cry out and beg for his mercy to go home. Tian Yuan smiled coldly. He didn't know how credible Mu Qing's words were, but that girl must be under his Qingyan sect. Nobody could be allowed to steal her from the sect. Tell me her location. Mu Qing could see that Tian Yuan didn't completely believe his words, but he still planned to personally head forward. It seemed that old man was in for a treat. Thinking about that, Mu Qing hastily told the address to Tian Yuan. Since Tian Yuan didn't know Wu Yu had living quarters in Phoenix City, he didn't think at all that the old man, slovenly in both dress and manner, was actually Grandmaster Wu Yu. How high was Grandmaster Wu Yu's sight? Even though Ru Yue's talent wasn't bad, it should still be sky-high difficult for her to enter that old man's eyes. Son. Currently, at the Mu residence, Ru Yue had just gotten up and had to welcome an uninvited guest. Perhaps it was due to Yi Tianfeng and Mu Ting Er's relationship that she didn't have good feelings towards Tian Yuan. Since she didn't know why he had come, she hastily spiritually summoned for Yan Jin. Shortly after, a black shadow rapidly lunged into Ru Yue's embrace. Yan Jin looked grievingly at Ru Yue as she had dumped him at the Mu family for so long, only summoning him now. Mu family girl, I plan to recruit you as my disciple. What do you think? Tian Yuan didn't even look at the small black beast in her embrace, only raising his gaze to look at the young girl before him. Looking at his arrogant appearance, it seemed that to him, being his disciple was a glorious matter. My apologies, but I already have a master. Ru Yue smiled before chuckling coldly. That being so, I cannot recognize you as my master. Tian Yuan frowned before relaxing his brows as he said, that can be easily solved. All I need to do is give him a bottle of Earth Stage low-rank pills to buy you as my disciple. How's that? 1. Alchemists were graded into human, earth, mundane, heaven, and divine stage. It was impossible to reach the divine stage, and one could count with a single hand those that have reached the heaven stage. Mundane stage pills were already extremely precious. Earth stage was like a priceless treasure to ordinary people, so Tian Yuan was extremely confident in his pills. Are Earth stage low-rank pills really that amazing? Ru Yue smiled at Tian Yuan. She could manufacture a couple dozen of those grade of pills in one session of pill making. Earth-grade medicine is definitely amazing. Not only can it heal injuries, it can recover the energy of practitioners and even allow a breakthrough in martial stages. Where is your master's current location? Let's go and find him now. Ru Yue shook her head as she found it too hilarious. Just as she wanted to reply to him, an elderly voice was heard from the front of Ru Yue's house. Who's looking for me? And for what purpose? 1. Mickey object. How could you talk about buying her in front of her? You bastard. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 64, Enraged Grandmaster Wu Yue. Chapter 64, Enraged Grandmaster Wu Yue. Just as Wu Yue stepped into the residence, he heard that someone was looking for him. He was also very curious as to who it was. When he looked at that person's appearance, his curiosity intensified. Tian Yuan, you're looking for me? Ah. Tian Yuan was stunned as he didn't know what was going on. No, Grandmaster Wu Yue. I was not. Why is the Grandmaster here? Can it be that he's seeking me for some matter? But from the looks of it, that doesn't seem to be the case. Wu Yue looked curiously at him. Didn't you just say you were looking for Ru Yue's master? That's right, I'm indeed looking for her master. Tian Yuan nodded before he suddenly seemed to come to a realization. With widening eyes, he asked, astonished, can it be that Grandmaster, you, It can't be, right? Grandmaster Wu Yue is her master? I'm finished. I'm really doomed. That bastard of the Mu family had gotten himself into trouble. Tian Yuan's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he scolded Mu Ting 100 times in his heart. Why didn't that bastard explain it clearly? If not, I wouldn't have thought of stealing Grandmaster Wu Yue's disciple. Isn't it a stupid thing to court death by trying to bribe a mundane stage alchemist with Earth stage low-rank pills? Master, he previously said that he wanted to recruit me as his disciple by using a bottle of Earth stage low-rank pills to bribe you. Ru Yue shrugged her shoulders as she glanced with excitement at Tian Yuan, who was shaking in fright. Grandmaster Wu Yue, please listen to my explanation. Seeing Wu Yue's expression darken from hearing what Ru Yue said, Tian Yuan's legs became so wobbly he almost knelt down before him. Currently, Tian Yuan's heart was filled with regret. Why didn't I do a detailed research before coming? Grandmaster, I really didn't know she was your disciple. If not, then even if you give me 100 guts, I still wouldn't dare to take her from you. Tian Yuan cried out. He didn't in the slightest resemble that previous awe-inspiring person. Tian Yuan, you have a lot of guts. Wu Yu blared furiously at Tian Yuan before yelling in anger, you also dare to try and steal my disciple? Which part of you is worthy to be her master? You also wanted to bribe me with Earth Stage low-rank pills? You must be dreaming. I will clearly tell you now that my disciple is that genius I had been searching for. She's a pervert that succeeded in breaking through to the Earth Stage in just a few measly months. You took 20 years to break through to the Earth Stage. What right do you have to steal my disciple? Even though he knew people from the Qing sect wanted to steal his disciple, this knowledge and the current situation were two separate matters. Now that he'd personally seen it happening before him, he was enraged. He almost wanted to beat Tian Yuan into a pulp. Tian Yuan was so fearful of him that he was shaking all over. The rumored trash of the Mu family is the talent that Grandmaster Wu Yu had been searching for? She is that monster who possessed colorless innate talent and insane mental power? Feng Er had abandoned such a wonderful girl for Mu Ting Er? It was a pity he'd previously thought that Mu Ting Er wasn't bad, as now there was a heaven and earth difference between her and Ru Yue. Grandmaster Wu Yu, it was the Mu family that had pushed me to come. I really wasn't aware she was your disciple. Could you please consider it as due to my ignorance and forgive me? I really won't dare to think of doing something like that again. Tian Yuan's face turned pale white. He couldn't bear it and wanted to immediately teach that Sanuvabich, the Mu family head, a lesson. That bastard had really gotten him in real trouble this time. Death can be avoided, but punishment can't. After you return to the Qing sect, you're to undergo closed-door training at the forbidden area of the back mountains for 2 months. Without my orders, you cannot leave that place. Furthermore, I don't want news of my disciple to be known to anyone, including your disciple. It's best for you to forget about what happened today. Wu Yu coldly snorted. If I hear this news leak from your mouth, I'll increase your closed-door training, extending it from 2 months to 2 years. Tian Yuan shook in fright once more. If he went to the forbidden grounds, then even if he didn't die, he'd at least lose a layer of skin. If you find any errors, ads pop-up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 65, You Reap What You Sow. Chapter 65, You Reap What You Sow. Family Head. Family Head. Grandmaster Tian Yuan has arrived. In the lounge of the Mu family, Mu Qing was contentedly tasting savory tea. He could already imagine the wretched girl being troubled by Grandmaster Wu Yu. His lips subconsciously curled up into a smile. Upon hearing the announcement, Mu Qing had immediately become elated. Just as he planned to head out to greet him, he saw Tian Yuan, who wore a green-trimmed gown, stride into the lounge. Currently, Tian Yuan wore a displeased expression. It wasn't elation as Mu Qing had thought. This made him apprehensive. Can it be something occurred without him knowing? Grandmaster Tian Yuan, how was that matter? Mu Qing forcefully smiled while respectfully asking that. It would have been all right if he didn't ask that. Once he asked, Tian Yuan's expression turned murderous. He carried an aura that resembled the calm before a storm, radiating danger. Mu family head, is the second young mistress in? I'm missing a Yao Tong, and I hope that the Mu family head will be able to help me with this. I definitely won't treat you unfairly. After leaving the Mu residence, Tian Yuan had been brainstorming of ways to torture that Sanuvabich Mu family head. The best way he thought up was to torture his precious daughter and make him think that he was allying himself to the Qing sect. Even though Tian Yuan really wanted to violently beat up Mu Qing, Grandmaster Wu Yu had warned him before not to leak out Ru Yue's identity. Hence, he could only use such a way to deal with him. If he personally made his move on Mu Qing might be able to infer something. Mu Qing gradually heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Tian Yuan looked so displeased because he was rejected by Ru Yue, so he asked for another candidate. Currently, it was impossible for Mu Ting Er to be the imperial consort of the Crown Prince, so being the Yaotong for Grandmaster Tian Yuan wasn't bad.
Grandmaster, when shall I make Ting Er go and find you? Mu Qing's eyes shone.
Even though being a Yaotong was insignificant, if her innate talent was fancied by Grandmaster Tian Yuan, there was a possibility she might be recruited as his disciple.
How could Tian Yuan not know what Mu Qing was currently scheming? He coldly snorted. His eyesight wasn't terrible enough to keep that kind of girl as his disciple.
If he would use this opportunity to avenge that Lady Mu, then his performance might be enough to make Grandmaster Ru Yue withdraw his order for him to reflect by himself in the forbidden area.
I shall bring her with me now. Tian Yuan's cold gaze swept towards Mu Qing.
From today onwards, Mu Ting Er of the Mu family will be Yaotong for me, Tian Yuan. Thus, if anything happens to her in the future, she won't have anything to do with your Mu family. Mu Qing's heart palpitated as he didn't know if this were fortune or misfortune for his Mu family. Somebody, bring the second young mistress over. Mu Qing sighed as no matter what, Ting Er would have to be the one to put in the effort in gaining Grandmaster Tian Yuan's recognition. Mu Ting Er, who wore pink clothes, came in from the back courtyard. Her charming face was slightly pale, and her eyebrows expressed melancholy, making her look so lovable that it attracted a person's tender affection. She pursed her lips before sincerely greeting Grandmaster Tian Yuan.
Ting Er greets Grandmaster Tian Yuan. Ting Er.
Mu Qing shifted his gaze to Mu Ting Er and sighed. He had really doted on this adopted girl as though she were his biological daughter.
Grandmaster Tian Yuan has came to recruit you as his Yaotong.
You will leave shortly with the Grandmaster.
What?
Mu Ting Er became so excited that she couldn't believe what she'd heard.
Father, is that the truth?
If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.
Chapter 66, Suffocating from the Pain. Chapter 66, Suffocating from the Pain.
Tian Yuan showed a trace of impatience as he coldly glanced at the elated expression on Mu Ting Er's face.
He frowned slightly before indifferently saying, "Let's go. I don't have spare time to waste here." After saying that, he no longer paid attention to Mu Ting Er and just strode out of the manor. Mu Ting Er snapped out of her elation and rapidly chased after his departing figure.
Tian Yuan didn't plan to really let Mu Ting Er become his genuine Yaotong as he wasn't returning to the Qingyan sect yet.
The competition had ended, but he had planned to stay in the city for a while longer, which was approved by Ru Yue. Following that, he would give Mu Ting Er unforgettable experiences as a Yaotong. She would have to get out of bed before dawn and go collect medicinal plants in the nearby Sunset Mountain. After returning, it would already be sundown. Not only that, but when Tian Yuan was manufacturing pills, he must have a helper beside him. If she did it unsatisfactorily, he would scold her for minor matters. If it was a major matter, he would not allow her to eat for 3 days. Mu Ting Er initially thought that hard times were over, but she would soon realize she had entered hell instead. How could she, a pampered girl, undergo such bitterness? Not only did she lose a lot of weight, her cultivation also didn't improve. Her life wasn't comparable to the life she'd had in the Mu family. Mu Ting Er, help me deliver these medicinal plants to Feng Er at Jingking Manor. Tian Yuan placed a basket of medicinal plants in front of Mu Ting Er and said that gloomily. Mu Ting Er thought she could finally see His Highness, the Crown Prince, so she suppressed the bitter taste in her mouth and respectfully lowered her head, replying, "Understood, Grandmaster Tian Yuan." She carried the basket and rapidly headed out. Due to her haste, she didn't see the cold smile expressed on Tian Yuan's lips at all. Son. The bustling streets in front of Jingking Manor. Mu Ting Er gradually slowed down her steps as she raised her head to look at the imposing front of the manor. Her heart slowly began to stir. Suddenly, she seemed to see a handsome man before her, gently looking at her and saying the most poignant words. Son. Ting Er, you'll be the most beloved girl in my life. I'll protect you for all eternity. Son. What can Ru Yue be counted for? You're the only person that can become my imperial consort. Son. Ting Er, since you're already my woman, I will definitely give you a title. Just wait for me for at most 3 months before I announce to the world that you're the woman I'll be marrying. Son. Those words were said long ago, but it was as though she had heard them the previous day. Mu Ting Er, who was unhindered during her journey, was also unhindered when she directly entered Jing Manor. She suppressed her surging heart and slowly opened the room's door. The curtain in the room slightly fluttered, allowing her to see 2 snow-white bodies. The varying tones of high and low voices viciously pierced her heart as Mu Ting Er listened. Bang! She dropped the medicinal plant-filled basket. Mu Ting Er lost her ability to think as she stared in disbelief, eyes wide. She looked at the man who had declared he would love her for all eternity. Even though she had known earlier on that this scene would occur in the future, seeing it personally still made her heart feel as though it was being viciously torn to shreds. The pain made her feel suffocated. Ting Er? Yi Tianfeng had sensed some movement at the entrance, but he didn't have time to get off the girl's body. When he saw Mu Ting Er standing at the doorway, panic flashed past his eyes before instantly vanishing. The girl beneath him had charming eyes like silk along with an alluring appearance. She extended her arms, coiling them around Yi Tianfeng like a snake. She smiled seductively before asking, "Your Highness Crown Prince, who is she?" "She is," Yi Tianfeng glanced at Mu Ting Er and answered, "She's my woman." She wasn't his imperial consort, just one of his women. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 67, Man Slag Yi Tianfeng. Chapter 67, Man Slag Yi Tianfeng. Mu Ting Er's heart was in such incredible pain that her mind instantly blanked. She looked at the girl who coiled her hands around Yi Tianfeng's neck, dominating his body's warmth. "Your Highness, I have sacrificed so much for you, and this is how you treat me?" Mu Ting Er bitterly smiled, her tears flowing like torrential rain. Her eyelashes trembled from the tears, making her look exceptionally fragile and thus attracting a person's feelings of tenderness. "Initially, if it wasn't for my hopes of marrying your Highness, why would I even participate in that competition? If it wasn't for you, why could it have happened like it had?" There was guilt in Yi Tianfeng's heart, but his guilt meant nothing. He could no longer marry Mu Ting Er as his wife. It was even more impossible for him to only have her in his entire life, so he didn't feel unwarranted. "Ting Er, I'll give you a title." Mu Ting Er's eyes lit up. "Really? Your Highness will still marry me, dot." Seeing the young girl's hope-filled gaze, Yi Tianfeng found it hard to be cruel to her. Yet, even if he couldn't bear it, he still had to toughen his heart. An immoral girl couldn't be a part of the royal family. "Ting Er, I've already spoken to my royal father. He agreed to let you be my concubine." "Concubine?" The ray of light in Mu Ting Er's eyes dimmed, bit by bit. She suddenly broke into laughter. With a smile that made her look extremely crazed, she exclaimed, "Your Highness, I've done so much for you, and this is your repayment? Concubine? Ha ha ha. So, after all the things that I've done for you, it only ends with me becoming your concubine." Upon saying that, Mu Ting Er gritted her teeth, hatred appearing in her eyes. "Your Highness." The beautiful girl pouted, unhappy as she gave a side glance at the pale Mu Ting Er. "Can you let her leave first? Your servant still wants to continue." "Slut." Mu Ting Er's expression changed as she brandished a white length of cloth at the beautiful girl. "You pester His Highness to do such things with you. I'll ruin your face, and then we will see whether you'll still be able to seduce His Highness." If it were the usual Mu Ting Er, she wouldn't do that. But now, she had completely lost her sanity. Her mind was stuck on the image of their tangled bodies. How could any girl endure seeing their beloved doing that with another girl? Currently, all she wanted to do was kill that girl. A slender hand firmly held onto the white length of cloth Mu Ting Er had thrown out and tugged on it hard. Mu Ting Er flew uncontrollably towards them. Just as her face paled in fright, she saw a hand slap towards her face. Yi Tianfeng looked coldly at Mu Ting Er. A gloomy expression was on his handsome face, his hand still tightly gripping that white cloth. Perhaps, it was due to his anger that the veins on his hand could be clearly seen. Bang! He lifted his leg and viciously kicked Mu Ting Er's stomach, causing her body to fly and viciously collide with the wall in a split second. A trail of blood flowed out from the corner of her lips. It hurts. It really hurts. Mu Ting Er gripped her chest as she curled up on the floor. Her beautiful complexion was terrifyingly pale. Cold sweat dripped down the delicate outline of her face. Her heart, however, felt a greater wrenching pain than that of his kick. Mu Ting Er, she's my concubine, so serving me is natural. You actually wanted her life. It was lucky I knew your true character early on. If not, wouldn't you have disrupted my entire manner after I married you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 68, Imperialia's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 1. Chapter 68, Imperialia's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 1. Yi Tianfeng rose from the bed. He extended his hand towards the pale-faced Mu Ting Er and grabbed onto her arm, then coldly laughed. But since you really want to service me that much, how about I grant you your wish? I'm in an exceptional mood today, so let's have you and Mei Er service me together. With widened, beautiful eyes, Mu Ting Er was stunned as she stared at the familiar face before her. This was the man she had loved for so many years? He actually wanted to make her service him with another girl? No, I don't want to. Your Highness, I plead for you to let me go. I'm begging you. Mu Ting Er teared up, but no matter how much she pleaded, it was already too late to make this man's heart feel pity. Mu Ting Er shut her eyes in despair as her clothing was torn apart, piece by piece. That glance from before had made her heart wrench. How could she endure if she were to see the entire process? The only thing she could do was shut her eyes and try her best to not witness this brutal sight. Son. Mistress, Imperial Consort Ye has arrived. In the Mu residence, Ru Yue was snacking on grapes Xi Wuchen had peeled for her. After hearing Li Lu's words, she couldn't help but raise her eyebrows before asking, "Why has Imperial Consort Ye come looking for me?" It was no longer a secret to the people of Phoenix City that she stayed here. Li Lu scratched the back of his head and chuckled. I'm also not certain of the reason. Mistress should know after meeting her. All right. Ru Yue got up from the Imperial Consort's seat before stretching her body. I'll head out to meet with Imperial Consort Ru Yue and find out the reason why she is seeking me out. As she spoke, she had already walked out of the door. Son. In the lounge. Imperial Consort Ye was sitting on a sandalwood chair. By her side, there was a servant girl pour her some tea. She took a light sip, tasting the savory tea before complimenting, "This tea is good." When Ru Yue walked out from the door and heard Imperial Consort Ye's words, she couldn't help but smile. If Imperial Consort Ye likes it, how about taking a few pounds of it back to the palace? This tea was taken from that old man anyway. I won't stand on ceremony with Lady Mu then. Imperial Consort of a lovely smile, which accentuated her liveliness. Lady Mu, I haven't come here with the status of an Imperial Consort, so I'm currently just Ru Yue. Lady Mu should stop calling by my title. Ru Yue sat down with a smile and sipped some tea before replying leisurely, in this case, why has Lady Yue come to look for me? She doubted Ru Yue would come see her if she didn't have an ulterior motive. However, she had a good impression of this woman, so she didn't reject her. Ru Yue shifted her gaze to the servant girl. Fei Chui, stand guard outside and prevent anyone from entering this place. Understood, Nyang Nyang 1.
Fei Chui turned and headed for the door to guard the room while Ru Yue looked at Ru Yue. Her gorgeous and outstanding face expressed sadness.
Is Lady Mu interested in hearing my story?
Everyone knew that the Emperor of Ziyu had doted on Imperial Consort Yu to her very bones and sent all sorts of treasures to the pavilion. He would do whatever Imperial Consort Yu wanted in order to make her happy, to the point that people gossiped Imperial Consort Yu would lead to the downfall of the kingdom due to her appearance. But who knew whether this devastatingly beautiful girl had been willing to marry an old man elderly enough to be her grandfather or not? He wouldn't be able to give her the most perfect life, no matter how privileged that old man was. 1. Nyang Nyang, it was how servant girls had to refer to their imperial consort and high-ranked concubines of the emperor.
If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc.,
please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.
Chapter 69, Imperialia's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 2. Chapter 69, Imperialia's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 2.
Lady Ya, I currently have a lot of issues to settle.
Will there be more trouble for me once I listen to your story?
Ru Yue bit her lovely, brightly colored lips. Her touching appearance expressed traces of melancholy.
Lady Mu, please don't fret about this.
I don't particularly have anything I need your help with. I just wish to have a listener. Of course, if Lady Mu is in power in the future, perhaps you can give me a hand.
I would be extremely grateful for that. However, if this makes things difficult for Lady Mu, you can completely forget what I've said today. I won't pressure Lady Mu into doing anything for me.
Her gaze was resolute as her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at the young girl before her.
Alright, I will listen to Lady Ya's story.
Ru Yue spread her hands and continued, but if this matter proves to be troublesome, I will pretend I have never heard it.
What kind of stories will a girl from the palace have? It should be about romantic relationships.
Ru Yue is at the prime of her youth, so having adoration is understandable.
Ru Yue bitterly chuckled as her memories surged like a tide.
Son, I wasn't born in an aristocratic family, but from a small family clan. Even though the status of this family clan wasn't high, I still had my father's love and mother's affections. I also had a cousin that stayed in my house. Both sides of the family had engaged my cousin and I since we were young. Following that, when my cousin's family had fallen, my parents didn't turn their backs on him.
Instead, they treated him as their biological child.
But because of a medicinal plant, it led to the downfall of the family. Tightly clenching her fists and with hatred flashing past Ru Yue's eyes, she continued, when I was 16, it was only 2 months before I would marry my cousin. My father coincidentally obtained a 1,000-year-old medicinal plant when he'd gone out on business. It was seen by Mu Ting, who was passing by. He didn't care to unhesitatingly annihilate my family, just for that 1,000-year-old medicinal plant. That day will forever be branded in my memory. Blood stained half the sky.
My parents fell under the hands of the enemy after protecting my cousin and I. When my cousin and I escaped the house, we were separated from one another since. I hated it. There hasn't been a single moment that I don't think about killing my enemies to avenge the death of my parents. For vengeance, I didn't care about wasting my youth to participate in the commoner's draft to enter the palace nor to give up on my engagement with my cousin. The palace is as deep as the sea. Perhaps I will be trapped in the palace my entire life, but for the sake of vengeance, I have neither complaints nor regrets. It's been 5 years. Ha ha.
5 years have passed since that day. I have had repeated nightmares every night in these 5 years. My enemy is right before my eyes, yet I am incapable of exacting my vengeance. Moreover, no matter how much that dog of an emperor dotes on me, he definitely wouldn't kill Mu Ting for me.
Ah.
It's been 5 years. Who knows how miserably I have lived in these past 5 years? She dreamed of her parents dying,
along with the other 136 members of the Ye family. They appeared every single night, covered in blood before her. Their heart-wrenching shrieks viciously strangled her heart to the point where she couldn't bear the thought of not using the blood of her enemy to appease those departed souls. Initially, she had a blissful family. Yet her family's downfall was all because of a single medicinal plant. If that tragedy hadn't occurred, then perhaps she would have been wedded with her cousin and had adorable kids. I greatly detest that dog of an emperor, but I still have to smile at him. I know what I'm doing will let my cousin down, but I will bear with it for my vengeance. The only thing I can do for my cousin is protect my chastity. I won't let anyone else touch my body, excluding my cousin. Ru Yue covered her face with her hands, tears seeping through the gaps of her fingers. But I don't even want to seek revenge anymore. What am I supposed to do now? I really don't want to continue exacting my revenge. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 70, Imperial Consort Ye's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 3. Chapter 70, Imperial Consort Ye's Bitter Fated Relationship Part 3. Seeing Ru Yue bury her head in her hands and weep, Ru Yue was at a loss as to what to say. She similarly had an unfortunate previous life. Her hands had been covered in blood, but she also understood that ill-gotten wealth should not be obtained. Moreover, if no one provoked her, she naturally wouldn't provoke them. If someone offended her, she wasn't so kind as to be bullied by them. Ru Yue suddenly smiled coldly. Wasn't her death in her previous life the same? Not knowing what you possessed isn't a crime, but treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. Those people didn't mind wasting so many months pursuing her for that ancient book of alchemy, but Lady Mu. Ru Yue stopped crying and raised her teary eyes to look at Ru Yue before continuing. I've recently seen my cousin. He has also entered the palace and has become a captain of the guards. I have already given up on my revenge. I just want to leave the palace with him and find a deserted area to live the rest of my life happily with my him. You are really giving up on seeking revenge? Ru Yue curiously looked at Ru Yue. She clearly sensed her heart felt hatred. How could she give up so easily? That's correct, I've given up because I believe Lady Mu will avenge me. Ru Yue chuckled. She gave off a subtle charm when she laughed with her tear-stained face. I understand how the Mu family works. They undoubtedly won't give up on a genius like you. To Mu Ting, if a genius can't be used for himself and won't listen to his orders, then he will end them before they can retaliate in the future. He's a vicious-hearted man. How can Lady Mu just let him do as he pleases at that time? Thus, Mu Ting will die under your hands in the near future. It was undeniable that Ru Yue was an intelligent girl, as she could make clear of the situation in just a short period of time. Ru Yue had an inkling of a feeling that in the future, Ru Yue wouldn't stay in this tiny Zu kingdom and would head for grander lands. This is the reason why you sought me out? Ru Yue's eyebrows lifted. She was greatly impressed by Ru Yue. If Mu Ting had killing intent, then the Mu family would really be exterminated. That's right. Ru slightly raised her beautiful eyes to stare fixedly at the young and tender appearance before her. My motive is to let Mu Ting receive retribution and make him understand that there is a cycle of karma. All of his bad deeds will return to him. It isn't that important for me to personally exact my revenge. Currently, all I want to do is roam the world with my cousin. Lady Mu, can you promise me something? If you become a strong and powerful person that exceeds the royal clan's power, can you make that old emperor give back my freedom? What her cousin said was right. Hatred had completely buried her personality. Since someone would take care of the Mu family sooner or later, she should let go of her vengeance and roam the world with him. She would still have to personally bring her parents' memorial tablets allowing them to see the fall of their enemy when Mu Ting was dealt with. Seeing Ru Yue's hope-filled gaze, Ru Yue sighed. The great imperial consort Ye was really just a pitiful person. It was fate that played with people, making this originally blissful girl fall to such a state. You previously helped me once in the palace, so I promise you, if there comes a day when my powers exceed the royal clan's, I will definitely help you leave the palace with your fiancé. This is my debt to you. Ru Yue's eyes lit up. She stood from her seat and walked before Ru Yue, bowing deeply towards her as she said in gratitude, "Lady Mu, please accept a bow from me first. If I am granted the ability to leave the palace, I definitely won't forget your benevolence. If you need any help from now on, I, Ru Yue, will do my best to assist you. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 71, Essence Purification Pill Part 1. Chapter 71, Essence Purification Pill Part 1. Lady Ye, I'm just returning a favor. You don't need to bow. With a wave of Ru Yue's hand, a force straightened Ru Yue's body. Ru Yue silently looked at her with surprise. Lady Mu, since it's getting rather late, it's about time for me to head back to the palace. Perhaps it was due to Ru Yue's promise, but Ru Yue's mood seemed to have improved. I believe Lady Mu will not be a person who stays in a pond and will eventually evolve into a dragon whose golden scales meet with the wind one. This tiny kingdom of Ziyu will not be your limit. Currently, Ru Yue was extremely jubilant as Ru Yue and Mu Qing's relationship wasn't just bad, it was extremely terrible. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to avenge her parents. Ru Yue smiled as Ru Yue's words were true. Her ambition wouldn't be limited to this small land. The place she strove for was the central region of the continent, where numerous expert cultivators gathered at. Looking at Ru Yue, Ru Yue smirked. If Mu Ting knew he had abandoned such a talented person, how many regrets would he have? Her greatest desire was exactly this. The miserable appearance of her enemy when he was filled with regret and remorse. Even though Ru Yue didn't know about Ru Yue's innate test results, she had a feeling that this young girl wasn't simple. Storms and waves would definitely arise in the future due to her presence in this world. After Ru Yue left, Ru Yue rose and headed for the pill refining room. I wonder if I can manufacture Earth Stage mid-rank pills now. With the rise of Ru Yue's hand, an ancient book appeared on her palm. She flipped open the book and stared, transfixed, at the words within. The Book of Alchemy didn't only hold extinct ways of pill manufacturing, it also recorded shortcut methods on how to break through to the higher stages. With the addition of Wu Yue's pointers, it had led to a rapid breakthroughs in alchemist levels for Ru Yue. I'll now try to manufacture an Earth Stage mid-rank essence purification pill. Ru Yue took in a deep breath to dispel all of her distractions before placing the 9-leaf snow lotus in her hand. She tore a small piece from one of the 9 petals before returning the rest of the lotus back into the storage ring. If someone knew she had used the 9-leaf snow lotus to manufacture an essence purification pill, they would definitely label her a wastrel. Even if she wanted to waste it, she shouldn't have squandered it like that. The 9-leaf snow lotus had uses in making mundane stage pills, yet she actually used it to refine an earth stage pill? If that wasn't wasting it, then what could it be called? To Ru Yue, however, it wasn't a big deal. Wasn't it simple to procure a 9-leaf snow lotus? She just needed to change an 8-leaf snow lotus to a 9-leaf snow lotus. As such, she dared to be so wasteful. The necessary ingredients in refining an essence purification pill is a 9-leaf snow lotus, purple leaf medicinal herb, 8 fragrance fruit, cloud lotus seed, and a purification flower. Looking at the table filled with medicinal plants, Ru Yue smiled satisfactorily. With a flick of her finger, a flame landed in the pill furnace. Swiss! It started to burn. The originally dark pill refining room became illuminated by the burning flame. Yan Jin yawned lazily as he laid atop Ru Yue's shoulder, watching her manufacture pills. He preferred the profound powers emitted by the medicinal plants over the pills themselves. When did this girl get this 9-leaf snow lotus? A faint glimmer flashed through Yan Jin's eyes as he smiled sinisterly. That medicinal plant would be able to recover a lot of his strength. Currently, he was so weak that it was difficult to even protect himself. Within the pill furnace, medicinal powers that were converted from the medicinal plants violently collided against the furnace walls, trying to break out. How could Ru Yue give them such a chance? She suddenly prompted her mental power to enter the furnace through a small gap, bundling the medicinal powers together. 1. It means to be able to be an exceptionally accomplished cultivator, rather than just a nameless face in the crowd. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 72, Essence Purification Pill Part 2. Chapter 72, Essence Purification Pill Part 2. The pill refining room gave off a faint medicinal fragrance as time flowed. With a wave of Ru Yue's hand, a few pills, which were enclosed in a green aura, flew out from the furnace and landed atop her hands. These sparkling, translucent jade-colored pills gave off gentle rays of light under the sun and carried an enticing fragrance. Ru Yue counted and found that there were 36 pills within the furnace. If Wu Yu were to see this, he would probably be shocked speechless. She had manufactured a total of 36 pills from her first production of Earth-stage mid-rank essence purification pills. Such talent shouldn't be called human, but the reincarnation of a demoness. Ru Yue wordlessly swallowed an essence purification pill. Instantly, an explosive force went rampaging within her body, causing crackling sounds to ring out. Ru Yue tightly clenched her teeth, yet a trace of blood could be seen flowing out from the corner of her lips. The effect of essence purification for cultivators was similar to them shedding their mortal bodies and exchanging their bones. This process of exchanging one's bones would definitely be hard to bear. At this moment, Ru Yue could feel the domineering powers purifying the meridians within her entire body. It hurts. It feels as though my meridians are being torn apart. Ru Yue slowly closed her eyes. With her body shaking from the pain, her small face was bleached an eye-piercing white beneath the sunlight. Still, she forcefully continued to bear with the intense pain. She gritted her teeth, yet not a single sound was heard from beginning to end. Suddenly, a warm energy flowed into her body, unexpectedly alleviating the intense pain. She gradually opened her eyes and, at that instant, an exceptionally handsome face entered her sight. "Wu Chen, why are you here?" Ru Yue asked curiously. If she hadn't seen wrongly, there was a trace of distress previously expressed in Wu Chen's eyes. Heartache? How can that happen? Wu Chen doesn't know anything, so how can he express such an emotion? Ru Yue shook her head. When she took a second glance at the young man embracing her, she noticed that his eyes were as pure and bright as before. I must have imagined it. I've come to find my wife. Wu Chen smiled innocently as he blinked his eyes and continued, "Just now, I saw that my wife seemed to be in discomfort, so I wanted to help my wife." After hearing what Wu Chen said, Ru Yue realized that the pain she felt from purifying her body had vanished. She couldn't help but look at the handsome young man before her with curiosity as she asked, "Wu Chen, what did you do to me?" Wu Chen looked innocently at Ru Yue. "I'm not sure." "Forget it." Ru Yue shook her head as she knew she wouldn't be able to get any answers from him. "Wu Chen, you should head back first. I'll come and find you after I've settled my matters." "Leave? How can I? Once I leave, won't this girl before me suffer from that pain again? How can I bear to let her be in such a pain? It's also my first time seeing such a strong-willed girl withstand the pain of shedding her mortal body and having her bones exchanged without making a single sound." Yan Jin focused deeply on Wu Chen's face, a peculiar glimmer in his domineering eyes. "This brat isn't simple. Should I tell that little girl? But he doesn't seem to have any ill intent. I shall not tell that girl about this for now." Wu Chen seemed to have felt Yan Jin's gaze as he turned his vision towards him.
The warning in Yi Wuchen's eyes made Yan Jin's heart slightly palpitate. This brat's cultivation is very high. Yan Jin didn't quite understand why he still needed to pretend to be a fool when he possessed such might. It was really impossible for the beast race to understand the mentality of the human race. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 73, Essence Purification Pill Part 2. Chapter 73, Essence Purification Pill Part 2. Wu Chen, you should release me. If not, you'll get dirty. Ru Yue slightly furrowed her eyebrows after lowering her head and seeing the dirty black fluid that was being excreted from her body. Not only did the essence purification pill help the user shed their mortal body and exchange their bones, it also made the martial practitioner excrete impurities from their bodies. Thus, from the moment Wu Chen appeared until now, foul black impurities were constantly being discharged from her body. Ru Yue herself couldn't stand it, so how could Yi Wuchen? But Yi Wuchen didn't have the slightest indication of despising the smell as he tightly embraced the young girl in front of him, a dazzling smile portrayed on his handsome face. My wife, I don't mind being dirty if it means I can be with my wife. The innocent look on the young man's face clearly didn't suit his age, but for some reason, that sentence pierced Ru Yue's heart greatly. Her heart was gradually moved. Yan Jin rolled his eyes. Even if they want to flirt, can't they find somewhere that's unpopulated? Can't they see that I'm still here? When the effects of the essence purification pill merged with her body, Ru Yue felt an unprecedented understanding and cultivation. She pulled up her filth-covered body with the similarly filthy Wu Chen. Seeing his sorry state, she couldn't help but chuckle. Yi Wuchen was momentarily stunned as he looked dazedly at her. Wu Chen, what are you looking at? Ru Yue rubbed her face as she looked at him with curiosity. My wife looks really nice when she smiles. Yi Wuchen bashfully lowered his head but couldn't help glancing at Ru Yue from the corner of his eye as he continued, I don't know why, but I've always felt that my wife's smile before was as though she was wearing a mask. But now, my wife's smile looks really great. Ru Yue usually smiles, but it gave people the chills. Her current smile, however, could really be described as being devastatingly beautiful. If Wu Chen likes it, I'll always smile at Wu Chen. Ru Yue smiled and continued, but first, we should take a bath. Son. In the big bath, Ru Yue completely submerged her body in the water, allowing the warm liquid to cleanse her body. Perhaps the water was too warm and comfy that it made her let down all of her guards. Little girl, I've got something to tell you. Just when Ru Yue wanted to have a good rest, an extremely domineering voice sounded. She immediately opened her eyes and saw smiling black eyes looking at her. Get out! Ru Yue angrily grabbed Yan Jin and tossed him outside before she shouted furiously, from now on, when I'm bathing, you aren't allowed to step 1 foot into this bathroom. Pang! Yan Jin's body crashed against a tree, in a miserable clump. After the ordeal of falling, he looked at the tightly shut bathroom, feeling wronged. In their beast realm, male and females could bathe together. Why is the human race so troublesome? Forget it, I'll tell her about that matter later. Right after Ru Yue just tossed Yan Jin out, without giving her a breather, the door was open once again. When Ru Yue turned to look at the ajar door, Yi Wuchen entered her sight. It was undeniable that the young man's build was great. His skin shone white and tender, giving off faint rays of light. Nothing seemed able to even slightly disrupt his beauty, excluding those sinister scars on his chest. Hon. After Ru Yue looked at Yi Wuchen, her face turned completely red, to the tip of her ears. Her brain stopped functioning at that moment. Yi Wuchen, he actually came in here without clothes? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 74, Essence Purification Pill Part 3. Chapter 74, Essence Purification Pill Part 3.
Yi Wu-chin. After Mu Yu snapped back to reality with some difficulty, she gritted her teeth and shouted, "Get out!" But Yi Wu-chin looked teary-eyed at Mu Yu. Feeling wronged, he replied, "I want my wife to bathe me." Unknowingly, Mu Yu felt as though she was looking at a cute puppy wagging its tail and begging for pity when she looked at the current Yi Wu-chen. This made her unable to harden her heart and chase him away. "My wife." Yi Wu-chen's eyes looked innocent and enticing as he pitifully looked at Mu Yu. "We have already went through the bridal ceremony to become an official husband and wife. Shall I ask Uncle Emperor to make a decree order to allow us to wed?" Bridal ceremony? Mu Yu nearly choked on her own saliva as she coughed twice before continuing, "Wu-chen, do you know what a bridal ceremony means?" "Of course." Yi Wu-chen smiled. His smile was as dazzling as the sun, which made people forget about everything. "My wet nurse told me that during the bridal ceremony, every couple will sleep on a bed, and the groom will lie on top of the bride's body. That was why I laid on my wife's body after sneakily entering my wife's room that day. We have already underwent the bridal ceremony, but..." Mu Yu was shocked speechless. That was a bridal ceremony? "My wet nurse also said that after the bridal ceremony, the bride will become pregnant. When will my wife give birth to my babies?" Yi Wu-chen seemingly didn't seem to notice Mu Yu being at a loss and looked expectantly at her stomach. Why will a girl become pregnant after a man laid on top of her body? How are babies born? At this moment, Mu Yu blanked. She was still a virgin, so how could she be pregnant? As to how babies were born, how was she going to explain this to him? Just as Yi Wu-chen stepped forward to take a bath with Mu Yu, he accidentally missed a step and fell towards her. Mu Yu was still in the bath, so he ended up directly pushing her into the depths of the bath. Their distance was so close, they could feel one another's breath. Mu Yu's face flushed red, her heart palpitating like a bounding fawn. She hastily suppressed her indescribable and unfathomable feelings as she pushed Yi Wu-chen away. Shwa! Mu Yu rapidly got out from the bath and wordlessly put on her clothes before leaving. Seeing her fleeing figure, Yi Wu-chen, who was still in the bath, couldn't help but laugh. If Mu Yu were to witness his current look, how could she still believe he was a fool whose mentality stagnated as a child? His appearance was as handsome as usual, and his beauty made the world pale in comparison. The difference was that his eyes weren't as pure and clean as when he was before others. His black eyes shone with evil and cold rays of light. The current him had a significantly more noble aura as compared to when he was pretending to be a fool. He was like a highly ranked king who carried an icy aura. With a wave of his hand, a cloth was summoned in his grip. After he redressed, a black-clothed man appeared behind him from the sky. "Master, may your subordinate be bold to ask a question. Why didn't you take advantage of that opportunity with the mistress?" The atmosphere suddenly became tense. The black-clothed man's heart shuddered before hastily kneeling to the ground and apologizing, "Your subordinate knows his mistake." The instant he knelt, the oppressive aura gradually dissipated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 75, Yi Tianfeng's Plan. Chapter 75, Yi Tianfeng's Plan. Yi Wu-chen shifted his gaze to look at his subordinate, wiping away all traces of emotion from his godlike face. The black-clothed person knew that his master was extremely unsatisfied with his words. She will marry Ben Wang. Yi Wu-chen had already turned his head away when he said this. With traces of happiness in his eyes, he continued, Ben Wang isn't in a hurry. Sooner or later, she will be Ben Wang's wife. Ben Wang will definitely not do any immoral acts to her before we officially get married. But teasing that girl is rather interesting. Yi Wu-chen chuckled softly. That girl wasn't scared of the pain during essence purification, so he initially thought that she was unfeminine. Who could have thought that she would have such bashful moments that even caused her to run away? Yi Wuchen didn't even notice that his smile became gentler as he thought about Mu Ruyu's flushed face. Son. In the royal palace, the Emperor of Ziyu had a headache. Looking at his grandson, he massaged his temple. Fomir, you were the one who wanted to abandon Mu Ruyu, so why are you so persistent in marrying her today? That girl has a really stubborn temperament. No matter how much I pressured her that day, she didn't budge. Royal grandfather, I didn't notice Mu Ruyu's excellence at that time. Since she has such exceptional innate talent, if she were to marry me, it will also become a type of assistance for royal grandfather. But I have, after all, ordered her to wed with the Ghost King. The Emperor of Ziyu frowned, feeling slightly conflicted. Even he wanted to change his imperial edict. However, he had already gone back on his words once. If he were to withdraw his order again, wouldn't he earn ridicule from the people in the world? Yi Tianfeng smiled before saying confidently, Royal grandfather, you were rough when you made the decree and didn't set the actual date of marriage. Currently, your grandson won't request for you to withdraw the imperial edict. I just wish that royal grandfather could delay their wedding for a few months' time. Your grandson will regain Mu Ruyu's affections in those few months. At that time, when she comes forth to personally request the termination of the marriage between her and the Ghost King, royal grandfather can conveniently accept. People will not vilify royal grandfather, and they will instead say that royal grandfather is a wise emperor for his help in putting a couple together. The Emperor of Ziyu's eyes lit up. That's a great plan. It's really a waste for Mu Ruyu to marry the Ghost King. Alright, I'll immediately delay their marriage for a few months' time. You must use those few months to regain her affections. Your grandson shall thank royal grandfather beforehand. Yi Tianfeng smiled. He was confident that he could regain Mu Ruyu's affections in these few months. That girl had always been chasing after him since they were young. Recently, he had broken her heart, so she'd rejected him. He believed that time would heal everything. As long as he was sincere enough, she wouldn't continue to reject him. But how could Yi Tianfeng know that his discussion with the Emperor of Ziyu was heard by a young palace maid belonging to Ru Yue? That young palace maid had long ago accepted Ru Yue's order to report any and all matters regarding Mu Ruyu to her. Moreover, Ru Yue had saved her life before, so after hearing their discussion, she immediately left to report to her. Thus, after the imperial edict had been finalized, Ru Yue dispatched people to inform Mu Ruyu of the conversation. Coincidentally, Wu Yu also came to find Mu Ruyu. Hence, the naturally protective Grandmaster Wu Yu was instantly enraged. What? That bastard Yi Tianfeng has the guts to fancy my disciple? Does he even have any qualities that is compatible with my disciple? No, this matter can't be left unresolved. I'll go and find that damnable Tian Yuan now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 76, You're incompatible with her. Chapter 76, You're incompatible with her. The enraged Wu Yu didn't even listen to what Mu Ruyu had to say. With a snort, he left to settle the score with Tian Yuan. The pitiful Tian Yuan would undergo another round of undeserved calamity. This time, the reason for his dressing down was his disciple fancying someone he shouldn't. Of course, the outcome of that was him being violently bashed by Wu Yu. In Jing King manner. Within a peaceful courtyard, Yi Tianfeng was contentedly sun-tanning. It was as though he could already foresee the scene where Mu Ruyu willingly entered his embrace. He couldn't bear to not smile. At this moment, a figure suddenly charged straight into the manor, shocking Yi Tianfeng. When he shifted his gaze to see who dared to barge into his Jing King manor, he opened his mouth to speak, only to pause when he saw the gloomy expression on the intruder's face. Yi Tianfeng's heart skipped a beat. Can it be that since I retained Ting Er, Master has come to settle the score with me? Master, why have you come? If you want Ting Er to return to you, you just need to have someone inform me. Why have you come personally? I will let her leave with you now. Currently, Yi Tianfeng still thought Tian Yuan kept Mu Ting Er as his Yaotong because of her talent. Leave that girl here temporarily before sending her back after a few days. Tian Yuan shook his head. I've come to you for a different matter. I've heard that you want to marry Ru Yue of the Mu family? Indeed. Master, Ru Yue's talent is great. She has the qualification to be matched up with me. Yi Tianfeng didn't understand what Tian Yuan was up to. When was he so interested in his marriages? Disciple, just give up. Tian Yuan sighed. You're incompatible with her, so you should let her go. Otherwise, you'll definitely give rise to undeserved calamity. When that time comes, even I won't be able to protect you. Yi Tianfeng looked at a loss at Tian Yuan. What does master's words means? Can it be that Ru Yue has a master of higher cultivation than master? How can that be? But, master. Enough! Tian Yuan bellowed coldly as he interrupted Yi Tianfeng. If you persist in going after her, you won't be my disciple from now on. I've not lived long enough yet, so I don't want to be dragged into that mess by you. Upon saying that, he ignored the astonished Yi Tianfeng and left the manor. Son. Li Lu, these are the experts you've gathered? Inside the Mu residence, Ru Yue sized up the men before her and nodded in approval. They aren't bad. These are the essence purification pills that I've promised. Consume it. In truth, the person with the highest status was neither the emperor of a kingdom nor the leader of a sect. It was the alchemist who could manufacture miraculous pills. Any alchemist expert would be treated as a guest in any country or sect they visit. Those miraculous pills in their hands were priceless. Thus, when people heard that they really had an essence purification pill to consume, they became excited and looked gratified at Ru Yue. If it wasn't for her, they probably wouldn't be able to consume such a pill in their life. Those hot-blooded men's hands trembled as they held onto the pill. This was neither cabbage nor a human stage low-rank pill, it was a genuine earth stage mid-rank essence purification pill. Mistress, you really treat us well. Touched, Li Lu wiped his tears from his face. My father initially gave me a beating for becoming a servant, but being able to follow you as my mistress is my greatest fortune. I will never regret this decision. After saying that, Li Lu raised his head and swallowed the pill. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 77, Invitation to the Pill Assembly Part 1. Chapter 77, Invitation to the Pill Assembly Part 1. After Li Lu swallowed the essence purification pill, the others followed and swallowed theirs. A series of crackling sounds from bones was instantly heard. The intense pain caused everyone to drop and roll on the ground, crying out in agony. It hurts. This is too *King painful. So the process of purifying the body's essence is this painful. If they were to know that Ru Yue had undergone this process before and hadn't made a single sound as she tightly gritted her teeth, wouldn't they want to hide in a hole out of embarrassment? Watching the men rolling on the ground, Ru Yue wordlessly left the area. Just as she entered the front courtyard, she coincidentally ran into Ru Yue. He had just arrived in search of her. Little girl, Ru Yue's eyes lit up while he went over with a giggle. I've come to find you for a matter. Seeing him smile with ill intent, Ru Yue's eyebrows rose as she waited for him to continue. He. It's like this. Ru Yue rubbed his palms and laughed, saying, Do you understand the status of alchemists in this world? To become an authentic alchemist, you must be acknowledged as one during a pill assembly. Such a convention is held every 5 years and, conveniently, there will be a Pill Master General Assembly held next month. As your master, I wish for you to participate in that assembly. First, it will allow you to prove your strength, and second, I hope that you can return as champion of that event. The Pillmaster General Assembly, as the name suggested, was the alchemists' General Assembly. The day it is hosted becomes a day of extreme importance to all alchemists, but the Pillmaster General Assembly had stipulated that those over 30 wouldn't be able to participate. It could also be said that this was a competition for youngsters. The main reason why Wu Yu wanted her to participate in the Pill Assembly was because while it gathered talents, it would also help increase her knowledge. There was also a rumor that the Pill Assembly president's grandson would also be participating in this alchemists' General Assembly. If it wasn't for Ru Yue appearing out of nowhere, Wu Yu would probably have been impressed by that brat's talent, as he was skilled enough to reach the Earth stage mid-rank at only 17 years old. Pill Assembly? How do I participate in it? Glimmers of light danced in Ru Yue's eyes. She was highly interested in this Pill Assembly. That's simple, I've already gotten an invitation to the Pill Assembly for you. Wu Yu chuckled as he took out a bright gold invitation from his clothing. The invitation had Pill Assembly in sparkling letters on it. This is the invitation to the Pill Assembly. I took it from Tian Yuan. Even though the Pill Assembly had given me an invitation half a year ago, I didn't have a disciple then, so I lost it. Thus, unfortunately, you'll have to use Tian Yuan's invitation in order to participate in the Pill Assembly. Furthermore, I've also helped you obtain proof of status of being an alchemist. While Wu Yu said that, he took out a crest. It had the shape of a gray-colored pill furnace with two horizontal lines beneath it that represented mid-rank. All alchemists can go to the Pill Pavilion to test their rank. Following that, the Pill Pavilion will give out proof of their strength. In this world, anyone with the crest of an alchemist will be acknowledged by the rest of the world. The gray crest I'm giving to you now represents that you're at the human stage level. The human stage, earth stage, mundane stage, heaven stage, and divine stage were represented as gray, green, blue, white, and gold respectively. The horizontal lines at the bottom of the crest represented one's exact rank. For example, if the crest was gray with a horizontal line, it would reflect the human stage low rank, 2 horizontal lines would mean mid-rank, 3 lines meant high rank, 4 lines meant peak rank. Human stage mid-rank crest? Ru Yue glanced curiously at Wu Yu. That's right, Wu Yu nodded with a smile. If I were to give you the crest that represented the Earth stage mid-rank, it would be too eye-catching. It should be impossible for a person of your age to reach such a level. If you were to bring that crest out, you'll definitely scare a crowd of people to death. Even the grandson of that old fellow of the Pill Assembly was 17 before he could reach the Earth stage mid-rank. The disparity seems too large. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 78, Invitation to the Pill Assembly Part 2. Chapter 78, Invitation to the Pill Assembly Part 2. Wu Yu coughed really twice before continuing. My disciple, I hope that you'll become the dark horse of the competition and show your prowess at the most crucial moment in order to give those old fellows a fright. But he couldn't help but laugh heartily when he imagined the stupefied looks of those old fellows. Who told the damnable old man of the Pill Assembly to brag so much about his grandson before him? No matter how talented his grandson was, he couldn't be compared to his precious disciple. Ru Yue shook her head helplessly. It was truly a headache to have a master that didn't act like an elder. When should I leave for it? You should head out today. I've already planned your itinerary so that you reach the venue for the Pill Assembly in exactly a month's time. Disciple. You must work hard to help your master gain some face. Today? Ru Yue clenched the invitation in her hand before nodding. Alright, I'll bid my farewells to Wu Chen before setting out for the Pill Assembly. Petals from a peach blossom tree descended as the wind blew. Wu Chen stood in the midst of this wind, staring unknowingly at something. It seemed surreal. He looked dreamlike with his shoulders covered with tender pink petals. Wu Chen. A gentle voice was heard behind him, so Wu Chen gradually turned around. When he saw the young maiden behind him, a mesmerizing smile crept on his handsome face. "My wife, you've come." It was unknown when Ru Yue had gotten used to his calls. She calmly accepted his reliance on her. Ever since he knew she stayed here, he stubbornly wanted to stay with her, to the point that he was even willing to serve her tea and water, warm up her bed, being ordered around by her like a fool. "Wu Chen, I'm here to bid you farewell." Ru Yue lifted her head to look at the handsome appearance before her. It was the first time she truly found that Wu Chen's looks were really exceptional. His skin was undeniably fair, but not to the point of being unhealthy. It was milky white. In addition, he had a pair of pure eyes that were filled with innocence, making him appear so very charming. His eyelashes drooped slightly as he looked at her pitifully, like an abandoned puppy. "Where is my wife going? It can't be to leave without returning like my royal parents, right?" Ru Yue's heart softened. She could never be mean towards him. "I just need to settle some matters. I'll return shortly after." Hearing that, Wu Chen heaved a clear sigh of relief before slowly walking towards Ru Yue, causing her heart to palpitate. They were so close they could feel each other's breath. Wu Chen's looks were so impeccable that there wasn't a single defect, even when she examined him at such a close distance. His slightly pursed up lips from before now formed into a gentle line. "Wu Chen, Wu." A pair of lips sealed hers before she could finish her sentence. It was not like the fleeting kiss Wu Chen usually gave. He gave her a somewhat amateurish kiss. Ru Yue's body shuddered slightly before she abruptly pushed Wu Chen away from her body. She narrowed her eyes to size up the slightly flushed youth standing before her, but didn't say anything. It was impossible to know what mood she was in from just her expression. My wife." Wu Chen panicked, as it seemed that he always overdid things to the woman before him. Moreover, he couldn't forget that she wasn't an ordinary girl. Could it be she had figured something out? "Previously in the Imperial Garden, I saw King-3 push down a palace mate on the ground. Then he did this." Wu Chen lowered his head, appearing as though he had done something wrong. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 79, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 1. Chapter 79, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 1. King-3? Yi-3? Ru Yue's gaze chilled. So it's him. Wu Chen, just walk away from him in the future. Don't even look at him. Otherwise, he might corrupt you. The pitiful King-3 didn't know what had happened, but he had already been blacklisted by Ru Yue. "I'll listen to whatever my wife says." Wu Chen smiled. His smile was as eye-catching as sunlight. It made Ru Yue's icy heart gradually thaw. Moreover, his eyes looked so sincere. "Wu Chen, you must take care of yourself in the period when I'm not around." Ru Yue held onto Wu Chen's hands as she continued with a smile, "I promise you that I'll return quickly." Wu Chen gazed at the girl before him. He really wanted to keep her hidden so that nobody could see her, but he understood that this girl was destined to be dazzling. He walked forward and gripped Ru Yue's hands instead before saying with a domineering, yet childish tone, "My wife, you are mine. You're mine forever." Ru Yue smiled, but didn't place his words in her heart. Perhaps there were a few times when she got disconcerted by Wu Chen's actions, but she treated him as a child that relied on her. Thus, she didn't think much of his words and only thought they were spoken by a child that didn't want to lose his family. Perhaps Wu Chen's position in her heart had subconsciously changed, but she hadn't yet realized it. Even though Ru Yue's past life was rich, she was still clueless about relationships. Watching Ru Yue's departing figure, the innocence within Wu Chen's eyes slowly disappeared. What replaced it was a devilish aura. He curved the corner of his lips slightly upward and used a slender finger to caress his lips.
That smile of his made him look increasingly bewitching. It seems that I have to work harder to gain her affection. In the Mu manor, Mu Yue stood up excitedly, causing the chair to scrape against the floor. With elation in her eyes, she said, "Is this the truth? That slut Ru Yue is really leaving Phoenix City? That's great. I'll make it so that she will never be able to return." As she said this, her adorable face revealed unprecedented viciousness. "I hate her. How can I not? I'll never forget that day. Father and I had graciously gone to invite her back home. Who knew that the slut would make me lose face before the man that had gained my affection? But young mistress." Her maidservant was hesitant. The eldest young mistress was the third young mistress's blood-related elder sister. Why did the third young mistress hate her so much when they came from the same mother? "You can withdraw now. You don't need to care about this matter, nor are you to report this to father. I naturally have means to deal with that slut." Glimmers of light danced within Mu Yue's eyes as she smiled. "Ru Yue, you're the one that didn't want to walk upon heaven's path and insisted on walking down the hellish route. Since you're seeking death, I'll mercifully send you off. But it would be too kind to send you off so easily." After Lu Wan left, Mu Yue took out a whistle. A man had given that whistle to her as repayment for saving his life. Actually, Mu Yue didn't know how she had saved him. She had once coincidentally wandered into an unmanned house in the back courtyard of the Mu family and saw a guy lying on a bed inside that house. When that guy opened his eyes and saw her, he had thanked her for saving his life and had then said that if she ever needed help, all she needed to do was blow on the whistle to find him. He was willing to help her with one matter. Naturally, Mu Yue didn't bother clarifying his assumptions, which resulted in a fortuitous encounter for her, so she cheerfully accepted his gratitude for having saved him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 80, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 2. Chapter 80, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 2. Mu Yue placed the whistle between her lips before blowing on it, playing a wonderful tune. Just as she was about to be entranced by this tune, red clothes neared her from afar, as though a ball of flames was charging over. A man sat reclined in front of the window, his red clothes slightly open to reveal his fair chest. The man looked exceptionally mesmerizing. He had a charming smile on his exquisite face and his eyes seemed to seduce one's soul. His every frown and smile was very enticing. He was just like a peerless enchanter that could easily seize a person's soul. An enticing smile disguised his gloom and heartlessness. Schwa! Feng Jing Tian withdrew the whistle before tossing a breathtaking gaze towards Mu Yue. With a slight knit of his brows, disgust flashed past his eyes. "Tell me, why did you seek for me? You only have one chance." Mu Yue snapped out of her shock. Even though this man was handsome, he was too gloomy. He wasn't her type. The type she liked was that young youth with a heavenly appearance. "I want you to kill someone for me." Mu Yue gritted her teeth as she continued viciously, "It's Ru Yue of the Mu family. It's best for you to first rape her before killing her, then chop her into countless pieces." Feng Jing Tian glanced calmly at her. His monster-like appearance gradually darkened. "Even though I don't like doing this, since I have promised you, I shall accomplish it. But you only have this one chance. After this, I will not owe you anything more." He didn't like owing favors, so he'd placed this condition. Upon saying this, he no longer looked at Mu Yue. With a flash, his body disappeared from the window, red clothes instantly vanishing beneath the sunlight. Sun. Green Bamboo Mountain was the only path to the Pill Assembly. Currently atop Green Bamboo Mountain, it was quiet. The dried leaves Ru Yue stepped on gave off a rustling sound. The black beast within her embrace often surveyed their surroundings, its domineering eyes containing faint glimmers of light. Suddenly, an icy and oppressive aura came over, causing Ru Yue's breathing to hasten.
Who? Ru Yue slightly turned her head and examined her surroundings warily. Suddenly, at this serene mountain valley, an androgynous laughter rang out as a red-clothed person appeared before Ru Yue. The man before her was undeniably beautiful. His beauty was mesmerizing, like a peerless enchanter. Ru Yue, who had lived 2 lives, hadn't seen a man as beautiful as this. Even girls couldn't be compared to his beauty. If it wasn't for that Adam's apple, there would probably be many that would think this enchanter was a girl. Ru Yue? Feng Jing Tian curled his lips upward. He sized up the young girl before him. With an enticing smirk, he continued, I had previously owed someone a favor, so I've promised to kill you for her. Moreover, she wanted me to rape you before killing you. However, raping a girl isn't something that I, Feng Jing Tian, can do. It will also be too tarnishing to let someone else do you. Ru Yue's expression slightly darkened. She could feel that this man was extremely powerful. He gave her a familiar feeling, but she couldn't remember where she'd met him. Of course, Feng Jing Tian chuckled with an enchanting smile, one so beautiful it could captivate anyone's gaze. If you're willing to be my woman, I'll let you go. This is, perhaps, an extremely profitable deal. What do you say? Feng Jing Tian used his slender fingers to caress his jawline as he said it with a faint smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 81, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 3. Chapter 81, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 3. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in feminine guys. Ru Yue raised her head as she looked at the enchanter-like man with an undissolvable iciness in her eyes. Feng Jing Tian spread his hands helplessly. In that case, there's no other way. Hon. A powerful aura burst forth from Feng Jing Tian's body. That icy aura carried a harsh killing intent that rapidly charged towards Ru Yue. At this moment, a pair of hands embraced Ru Yue's waist and brought her into an embrace. Following that, Yan Jin casually brandished his hand, creating a black ray that shot towards Feng Jing Tian. When the two powers collided, it momentarily caused the entire mountain to quake a few times. Little girl, give me the 9-leaf snow lotus. Yan Jin lifted his gaze to look at the monstrous man standing not far from him. The complexion of his handsome face was slightly pale. He was an expert. Even though Ru Yue didn't know what Yan Jin wanted to do, she still passed him the 9-leaf snow lotus. Yan Jin wordlessly grabbed the 9-leaf snow lotus and swallowed it whole. Hon. A tyrannical power surged from his body, directly creating a breakthrough in his strength. Human metamorphosed beast. Feng Jing Tian slightly narrowed his eyes. There was such a powerful spiritual beast in this woman's possession. He'd really belittled her. But in this case, wouldn't it be more interesting? Woman, I've suddenly realized you're very interesting. Feng Jing Tian laughed suddenly as his eyes looked directly at Ru Yue. It's a pity that I will never be interested in you. A layer of frost covered Ru Yue's face as she said coldly, Yan Jin, don't kill him. I want to know who the mastermind is. However, there wasn't a need to question him with torture. She already knew that only the people from the Mu family would do this. Yan Jin slightly squinted as iciness crept into his eyes. He leapt towards Feng Jing Tian while simultaneously revealing a black curved blade. The curved blade gave off a dazzling ray of light as it struck towards the side of Feng Jing Tian. Feng Jing Tian immediately shifted his body to the side, narrowly avoiding the blow. Humph! Yan Jin coldly snorted. Seeing that his first move wasn't effective, he increased the strength of his attack. Ru Yue, who still stood behind them, watched their intense battle. It was unknown what she was thinking. As she zoned out, Feng Jing Tian found a space to strike at Yan Jin. The red figure then rapidly charged towards Ru Yue, taking advantage of the time when Yan Jin dodged his attack. Stop!
Yan Jin hollered with fury as a trace of a bloody light flashed in his eyes. How could he let anyone hurt her? He must chop his corpse into countless pieces. A breeze blew past, causing hairs to flutter. Similarly, it exposed the butterfly-shaped red mole behind Ru Yue's ears. The very moment Feng Jingtian saw that red mole, he halted. Son! Pang! Just as Feng Jingtian stood stunned, Yan Jin kicked him directly in the chest. He was sent flying and crashed into a tree while still in a daze. Was it you that saved me 3 years ago when I was heavily injured and unintentionally trespassed into Mu Manor? It was definitely that red mole. When his consciousness was hazy, he groggily saw that a young girl with a red butterfly mole had helped him dress his wounds before he passed out. When he woke up, he saw Mu Yue of the Mu family. Thus, he took Mu Yue to be his savior. 3 years ago? Mu Ryu frowned. There was an inkling of it happening in her memory. It was no wonder she felt that he looked familiar. But no matter what the previous body's owner had done, it didn't have anything to do with her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 82, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 4. Chapter 82, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 4. So what if it is or isn't? Mu Ru Yue's expression chilled. She didn't forget that this man had come to kill her. Tell me, who is it that told you to kill me? Feng Jingtian gradually snapped out of his shock. When he thought about Mu Yue lying to him, his expression darkened. A trace of viciousness flashed past his eyes. It's Mu Yue of the Mu family. Once he said that, Feng Jingtian felt an icy aura came over. He looked in surprise at the young girl emitting such an icy aura. Mu family. As expected, it really is the Mu family. Mu Ru Yue sneered. I've never provoked them and yet they constantly provoke me. It seems that the previous lessons weren't enough. When I return, I'll settle all the debts with the Mu family. But even though you weren't the main instigator, you still came over by her order, so. She lowered her gaze at Feng Jingtian, who was on the ground, and her sneer intensified. Feng Jingtian's body shook as he replied, feeling wronged, I didn't know you were the true savior. Worst comes to worst, I'll become your guard to protect you. Moreover, his strength wasn't inferior to the spiritual beast, so no matter what, this girl wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, it was still Feng Jingtian that was initially in the wrong. Regardless of what she did to him, he wouldn't fight back. I can't afford to have a guard like you. Mu Ru Yue coldly looked at Feng Jingtian as she drily said that. She was obviously unable to feel any good intentions towards the guy that wanted to kill her. Feng Jingtian bit his red lips as he laid on the ground. The slightly opened red clothes revealed his exquisitely fair chest, completely showing off an enchanter's mesmerizing demeanor. How about I pay the price and give this body to you? Come, quickly come over. I'll use my body to repay you. Saying that, he closed his eyes as if he was awaiting death. Yet, there wasn't any movement after a long period of time. He sluggishly opened his enticing eyes and found that Mu Ru Yue had already carried Yan Jin far away from him. When the wind blew, Feng Jingtian was like the abandoned leaves as he laid on the ground. It seems that I've fallen for her. Feng Jingtian's mind was filled with that young girl's cold appearance. As he pondered about it, he chuckled. If she gives me 2 punches, perhaps I'll be much more blissful. If Mu Ru Yue were to hear his mutters, she would probably want to vomit 300 milliliters of blood. He was heading in the direction of masochism. Little girl, are you going to let him off just like that? Yan Jin lifted his gaze to look puzzledly at Mu Ru Yue. This young lady didn't seem the type to let her enemy go so easily. He possesses great strength. At most, you would only be able to beat him into a tie. Mu Ru Yue frowned slightly as she continued, since we can't kill him, we can only leave him.
I feel disgusted by his flashy appearance. Seeing such a flamboyant man, it really gave people goosebumps. Little girl, I'll quickly come to find you. Feng Jing Tian looked in the direction that young girl disappeared and smiled faintly. Now, he had something more important to do. Thinking about Mu Yue, his gaze darkened. It was his fault for recognizing the wrong person, but that girl didn't clarify and just accepted everything readily. This matter was intolerable to Feng Jing Tian. Mu Yue, didn't you want people to rape her? I'll let you experience that. Upon saying that, he looked in the direction Ru Yue had left before rapidly heading back where he came from. Fragrance Pavilion. Mu Yue anxiously paced back and forth, her gaze frequently shooting towards the window. She didn't know if that man had done the deed. Thinking about that slut being catered by a man, she couldn't help but smile with elation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 83, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 5. Chapter 83, Enchanter Feng Jing Tian Part 5. Suddenly, an indistinct fragrance drifted in from outside. Mu Yue initially didn't find anything amiss, but she gradually realized that something was wrong. Hot, it's really hot. Mu Yue's face flushed red as a scorching heat came from the bottom of her heart. She couldn't help but pull on her clothes to make herself feel better. At this moment, a male servant pushed open the door. Who knew that once he came in, Mu Yue pounced on him like wolves and tigers. After being pushed to the ground, there wasn't any time to feel that something was amiss as they did it. Even though the servant was a man, his cultivation was inferior to Mu Yue's, so how could he withstand her? Moreover, Mu Yue was currently so seductive. A man wouldn't be able to resist her initiative anyway, so after coming back to his senses he had already engaged with her. Perched on a tree outside the door, Feng Jing Tian, his red clothes fluttering, smiled coldly as he watched what was happening. His gaze landed behind Mu Yue's ears. It was completely clean and without a mark. It was obvious that the girl he'd met wasn't her. Bitch, you actually dared lie to me. Feng Jing Tian's enchanter-like appearance darkened. His fingers clenched tightly onto the tree branch. A sinister ray of light glimmered in Feng Jing Tian's eyes. Since you had the guts to lie to me, it's time to pay the price. What he hated the most in life was when people played with him like a monkey. Since Mu Yue lied to this demon, her coming days would definitely be so miserable that nobody would bear to witness it. After casting a final glance of Mu Yue kissing the male servant, a trace of disgust flashed past Feng Jing Tian's eyes. With a turn of his body, those red clothes disappeared from the tree. It was as though he had never been there. After a long period of time, the two in the room were so exhausted that they couldn't move. Mu Yue instantly came back to her senses. She immediately shrieked, tightly covering her chest with her arms as she looked ferociously at the man before her. Why did I do that? Her innocence was actually ruined under the hand of a servant. In this case, her life was over. If this were to be known by father, he would definitely make her wed this servant secretly before lying that she had died from illness in order to save the family's face. No. I don't want that. Young mistress, what happened? Lu Huan's worried voice came in from outside. Mu Yue reacted and gritted her teeth while saying, "Nothing's wrong. It was just a mouse. You don't have to come in. Just continue doing what you need to do." Lu Huan felt that something was strange. The third young mistress wasn't as dainty as the second young mistress. Why was she frightened by a mouse? However, she didn't dwell more on her thoughts and left without hesitation. "Young mistress, your servant, Ming Xiang, will definitely be responsible for you." Ming Xiang seemed to be reminiscing about the previously wondrous taste as he said this seriously. Pa! Mu Yue raised her hand and viciously slapped Ming Xiang. She said loathing, "Just look at yourself.
You look so ordinary and have such a small build. Moreover, you don't have any status. How can you be responsible for this, Missy? I want to kill you. As long as you're dead, there won't be anyone that will know about this. She definitely couldn't let anyone know that she had lost her innocence. Otherwise, who could she marry, excluding this servant? With her noble status, how could such a low-status person have the right to marry her? Ming Xian was initially kind enough to want to be responsible for Mu Yue. Who knew that this girl wanted to kill him? He didn't want to die, so he naturally wouldn't continue to be courteous. Young mistress, the servant only wanted to report something to young mistress. Who knew that once young mistress met this servant, she pounced at him as though she were a starving wolf pouncing on its prey and forced this servant to do those kinds of things with her? Everything was initiated by young mistress. What does any of it have to do with this servant then? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.